A free copy of Our Dollar, Your Problem and our free Gold IRA Investing Kit. Supplies are limited. Consult your tax and financial professional before investing. Call 800-741-4653. That's 800-741-GOLD.
A charter plane to carry South Korean workers who were detained in an immigration raid in Georgia will depart today to return home.
The workers who were detained in an immigration raid in Georgia will depart Thursday at noon to return home. South Korea's foreign ministry made the announcement but gave no further details. A total of 475 workers, more than 300 of them South Koreans, were rounded up in the September 4th raid at the battery factory under construction at Hyundai's sprawling auto plant. Airport officials in Atlanta said earlier that the return flight planned for Wednesday had been cancelled. I'm Karen Shamas.
South Korea's spy agency says the young daughter of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was assessed to have solidified what it calls her status as her father's likely heir, as she accompanied her father on a recent China trip. The girl, believed to be named Kim Ju-a, is around 12 or 13 years old. Breaking news at townhall.com.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
September 11, 2021. Many listening were not even alive that date, or if you were too young to understand what was happening. The truth is, even adults could not understand. Do you remember where you were when you heard, then saw what had happened? No one forgets. I was home, unaware until my youngest called and said, a jet just hit the World Trade Center. Quickly, I turned on the TV expecting to see disastrous weather. What else would explain a commercial jet hitting the World Trade Center? The first image I saw, clear blue skies above a smoking tower, and just then a second plane hit. It was clear we were under attack, and there would be casualties, more on other flights. 3,000 died that day. Then you have those who died later due to injuries suffered in trying to save lives, even retrieve bodies. Plus the Americans who died in the following wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. 9/11 was our modern-day Pearl Harbor, which we still honor, as we should, lest we forget, which we never will. God bless the USA.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
The Napoli heritage of fine dining continues with Napoli Kirkwood. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. So add that to Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. And don't forget about Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district, Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, plus now open Napoli Kirkwood.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best in each of us, made better by the best in all of us. Whatever success looks like to you, Stifel is invested in yours. That's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. So whether you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson here out at Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy, Missouri. I'm going to be here until about 1 o'clock or so. I'm here with Jason, who owns Whistle Pig. Now, Jason, especially for those maybe who are newer to hunting or some of the younger people getting involved, you've got all the equipment, waders, jackets, gloves, everything, but you really only are working with the high quality stuff. So if somebody is getting equipped for the season, why is it so important to consider quality instead of just maybe what they can find cheap online?
Well, Mike, the stuff we sell here is top quality. We deal with only top quality, and this is stuff that's going to last you for years if you take care of it. So all the brands that nobody else carries in the area is what we've got here. First Light, Banded, Drake. We've got all the top brands. And that can make your hunting season a lot more comfortable if you do it right. That is correct. Yeah, you buy the good quality gear, you're going to stay warmer, you're going to stay drier, and that'll make your experience a lot better.
All right, I'm going to be here until about 1 o'clock. Look for the News Talk STL muscle car here on Main Street in Troy, Missouri. And of course, in the meantime, check out whistlepigoutdoors.com. Stop by, say hi, grab a little bit of News Talk swag while you're at it. We'll talk to you again soon.
News Talk STL. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by STL Fenceworks, celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Give me land, lots of land under starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, happy to be with you. Ashlyn over there. Common Sense Radio, and it has been, needless to say, an awful past 24 hours. I hope some of you were staying. Well, it's hard to stay offline, obviously. And appreciate all your feedback on my posts from yesterday as well on the Radio Free Allman site. The rest is just a lot of awfulness. The rest is just a lot of really terrible people saying terrible things, and your best to kind of stay away from that part of it. So the latest is the authorities have released a picture of the person they believe assassinated Charlie Kirk yesterday. And you look at the picture, and it's very unusual. It's a wiry, relatively darker-skinned guy. I don't mean darker as in African-American or something, but he seems to have a darker complexion. He's got a very wiry figure with long arms, and he has a shirt that has the American flag on it. And what I think is an eagle flying over the American flag. So it's a shirt with the flag, American flag right in the middle, and then it looks like it's an eagle. I have no idea. I'm going to say this, and I don't want you, I'm not trying to draw any conclusions here. I'm telling you what this guy looks like. And he looks like a sniper that I actually knew a long time ago. When I met him at the USO, and he was similarly built, he was an amazing sniper too. I'm not saying he looks like this guy's the killer. I'm saying his physicality looks like a sniper. I mean, I'm talking about a trained sniper. That's what his physicality looks like. And I'm just basing that on my experience knowing snipers. And usually what happens is snipers are not normally like these big muscly guys. They tend to be really wiry, almost like they look like the Scarecrow almost, because they're very, very, their arms and their hands are very, very loose. And this guy that I knew back in the day shook. He had a shake on his hand, because of just what happens when you're shooting somebody from that far away. There's also a mental aspect of that a lot of snipers go through. I don't think there's any question in my mind that there's no way he acted alone. There had to be somebody down on the ground. And this was a coordinated hit. And again, we know from the Butler, Pennsylvania thing, you can be a kid and still have a sharpshooter's eye and still do it without being a professional. So we all know that. But this guy, and they said that he looked like he was college aged, and I don't think he does. I think he seems to be considerably older. And they did find the gun as well.
We are and will continue to work nonstop until we find the person that has committed this heinous crime and find out why they did it. This morning, I can tell you that we have recovered what we believe is the weapon that was used in yesterday's shooting. It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle. That rifle was recovered in a wooded area where the shooter had fled. So the FBI laboratory will be analyzing this weapon. Investigators have also collected footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis. Now, I understand there are a lot of questions about motive. I assure you that all leads, tips are being fully investigated.
Yeah. And so I really, as it relates to motive, I really can't say that this is a job done by the left or by liberals or even by the Democrat Party for that matter. I can't say it. And the reason I can't say it is because Charlie Kirk was despised by a lot of people because of his power and his magic, especially the way he communicated with young men who are going to be the future of this country. And so there are a lot of people who had some turf that they didn't want Charlie Kirk to trot on, and he did. And again, I'm not saying who I think it is. I have no idea. All I'm saying is don't think it's beyond the realm of comprehension that this is somebody who is not a liberal or a Democrat or a person on the left or whatever. And so I just can't say it because, again, Charlie Kirk was a generational figure. He was, aside from President Trump, probably most like Moses and also most like Jesus because of his wading into critics and meeting with people and hanging out with people who otherwise some of you and me, we wouldn't give the time of day. And his power, and not just his political power, but his cultural power was a threat to a lot of different people. And the reason why the power was a threat to a lot of different people is because he was 31 years old. So you're talking about decades of leadership, decades of creating generational conservatives, and decades of election losses for the people who didn't think that would be their future. And so I don't know whether or not this is just going to be your cookie cutter, lone gunman, crazy, what have you, but it doesn't look like it. And there are a couple of questions as now apparently they also have a lot of different pictures and videos of his movement and things like that.
We were able to track the movements of the shooter. Starting at 11:52 a.m., the subject arrived on campus, shortly away from campus. We have tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location. After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood.
Yeah. And how did he get there is a big question, too. Dropped off? Did he drive his cars? They didn't recover a car, but who knows? It might still be out there. How did he get there? And again, there's no way. Again, it's possible. I mean, somebody almost killed the president without any real intricate planning, what have you. But you just don't. You don't do this without some really heavy duty coordination. When the authorities talked about this person being college age, my first thought was, well, that would then account for the fact this guy knew his way around the place and the buildings and that kind of thing. But who knows? This seemed like it was this seemed like it was really a pro hit. And this guy, his picture, he looks like a pro. So I have no idea what his background is, whatever. But this guy has had some training. This guy knows what's going on, and he had somebody down on the ground helping him. So we'll see.
Our investigators have worked through those neighborhoods, contacting anybody they can with doorbell cameras, witnesses, and have thoroughly worked through those communities, trying to identify any leads.
Yeah, the super important thing is to keep him alive. That's going to be the critical thing, is to make sure that they get this guy alive. And they put his picture out there. Eventually somebody's going to know there's some way that this guy was able to have a level of safe passage. But keep in mind, this was not something where there were police all around or whatever. This was a Charlie Kirk event at a university like he usually does. And so it's easy for this guy just to disappear because there really aren't a bunch of people all around and cops casing the place and everything else, because it wasn't like a presidential visit. But somehow this guy has a level of safe passage. That picture is a really good picture. And anybody who knows this guy will instantly recognize him. Unless, of course, he has some kind of weird mask like that guy did in Minnesota or what have you. You never know. And who knows? Maybe the American flag shirt was in some ways some kind of ruse or whatever, just to make people believe it might not be like an Antifa guy or whatever. Who knows? But this guy looks like a sniper. I'm just saying. And he fits. He absolutely fits the central casting look of a sniper. And maybe this because the guy had nothing to do with it, but they are pretty sure because they've seen him on the roof. They've seen him driving around, all that kind of stuff. And so, or not driving around, but walking around. And so it will be only a matter of time. Meanwhile, I've been poring over a lot of Charlie Kirk videos. I really love this guy. You could see why he was so influential with young people like my son, Aiden, who was with Charlie Kirk a year ago on the campus of Arizona State University in a voter drive where he and a lot of these fraternities were all registering voters. Arizona wound up going Trump. Kerry Lake didn't win, who he's working with, but that's where you saw Charlie Kirk's magic with all these young men who really did adore him. And Aiden was one of those kids. And I want to play you something that is very interesting, I thought. And later on, I'm going to have a lot of Charlie Kirk videos, some of these videos where he's engaging with students and stuff like that. It's really pretty crazy. But this really took me. And this is Charlie Kirk on how he would like to be remembered.
How do you want to be remembered? I mean, if I die, everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. Most important thing is my faith in my life.
Faith and love of the country. And love of a good old-fashioned debate. My son Aiden's going to join me on the show on the other side of this break, so I hope you stay tuned. This is Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Freedom of speech is one of the anchors of our society.
News Talk STL.
Hey, folks, Newsteaders, fine jewelry. People right there, wowdiamonds.com. Right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend, wowdiamonds.com. Richard Newsteader and Eric and Diana and Cindy and Anna and all the great people out there are so good at what they do. And Jackie, and they're jewelers. They are professional jewelers, so they know everything about the ins and outs, about exactly the quality. And if you have any questions about the diamonds, whether it be in a situation where it's the lab-grown diamonds or the mine diamonds, there is a difference, and they can tell you all about that. They can tell you all about the quality and the origin of their emeralds and their sapphires and their rubies. They can tell you all about all the wonderful things that they're able to do for you in terms of a layaway program and a wish list. They have the Bull of a Watch, which is what I wear all the time. Thanks to them. It's the Frank Sinatra side of the Bull of a Watch. It's really great. They also have other kinds of Bull of a Watches available for you as well. Just really an incredible place. Over the door, God is welcome here. And they take a godly approach to customer service, to quality, and to pricing. Anybody can sell jewelry, but no one sells jewelry and loves it as much as Newstetter's Fine Jewelry. WowDiamonds.com. That's WowDiamonds.com.
Hey, News Talk STL listeners, this is Levi with Reach Reproductive Health. So first, I want to say thank you for standing in the gap for life, because truly it's because of people like you that many babies who otherwise would have been aborted are living today. I'm grateful to be fighting this cause with you. I'd like to invite you out to Reach's inaugural annual gala. It's our stakeholders launch. We're having it November the 6th at 6 p.m. at the Commons in Chesterfield. Space really is limited, so I want you to RSVP right now. Go grab your spot at outreachforlife.org. That's outreachforlife.org.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson out at Whistle Pig Outdoors here in Troy. Going to be here till about 1 o'clock. Come on out and say hi. I'm here with Jason. And Jason, we've talked about the high quality equipment you've got and the decoys and the archery expertise. Here's the thing. This is a family run business. You guys live this stuff. So those who are saying, yeah, I want to work with somebody who knows what they're talking about. This is your life. This isn't just your business, man.
No, that's exactly right. We, my son and I, who's my partner, we live this. We duck hunt, we deer hunt, we dove hunt, we squirrel hunt. We do it all. We're just like everybody else out there that enjoys being outdoors and the pursuit of game.
And you mentioned to me that what you have on stock here and your expertise is because you use it too.
We use a lot of the product in there. It's impossible to do 100%, but when we get a new item in, we go out and field test it. If it's a great product, we keep it. If we don't like it or there's something wrong with it, or in our minds, we get rid of it.
So it's all about the quality.
That's right.
All right, I'm going to be at Whistle Pig Outdoors here on Main Street in Troy until just about 1 o'clock. Look for that News Talk STL muscle car. Come on in, say hi, check this place out. It's fantastic. And grab a little News Talk STL swag while you're at it.
Join us for the annual St. Louis County Lincoln Reagan Day Dinner on Saturday, September 27th at the River City Casino Hotel Ballroom. Hear from top Missouri state and federal officials, plus special guest federal IRS agent Joseph Ziegler, who played a key role in the Hunter Biden investigation. Enjoy dinner, networking, and a silent auction. For tickets, call Renee Artman at 314-398-6667 or email reneeartman1530@gmail.com.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. We keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Inside my heart there's an emptiness, a heavy hate on a hollow chest, so unspoken like a disease is the way to incomplete.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Can you shake this soul?
This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here with you, and happy to be so. 101.9 and 94.1.
Is this hello or is it goodbye? Is this the low or is this the high?
Charlie Kirk, a generational figure, an amazing person. And just a bit later on the show, I'm going to let you hear so many greatest hits of the Charlie Kirk experience. And really to capture how important he has been to this generation, I'll let Charlie Kirk say it.
Strikes me about this generation. This generation is the most conservative generation that we have seen in well over 50 years, and the numbers show it. This is the greatest generational realignment since Woodstock. We have never seen a generation move so quickly and so fast, and you guys are making all the liberals confused. They thought you were going to be the most liberal generation.
And they're not. and it's incredible. The kinds of contacts that Charlie Kirk has had with young people, even some people on the other side were ultimately in that position where they had to kind of respect him. And I was really super happy when Aiden, who's my son, about to turn 21 years old, by the way, on the 25th of September, started sending me pictures and letting me know that he was involved in the Turning Point voter drive out at Arizona State University. It was a big one, and it really actually Arizona wound up going for Trump. It wasn't always a done deal there. He also was able to see Carrie Lake and got his picture with Carrie Lake, who didn't win, unfortunately. And when you guys are on the Facebook page or Rumble, you'll see my son Aiden with Carrie Lake in that picture. But Aiden and I talked yesterday. In fact, I called him right after I got off the air because it was right after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and Aiden had not heard yet. But I wanted to make sure I contacted him and talked to him and just kind of gave him the details, and then later on we talked in the evening. And my biggest concern and was how Aiden and people in his age group, these guys who work so hard and truly admired Charlie Kirk. I know you were hanging out with him and the guys. I saw the pictures and everything else, and you sent them to me. My biggest concern was what this is going to do, or what this could do to them in terms of discouragement. When you have somebody who is a hero of yours culturally or whatever brought down and cut down, I've never experienced that. The people who were JFK followers or RFK Jr. followers or RFK followers or Martin Luther King followers, I can imagine what that was like to see their heroes cut down. And so that was my biggest concern. Said, I want to talk to you about all this. And Aiden Allman, welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing?
Great. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be on.
Yeah, well, it's an honor to have you, my son. Hey, so how are you feeling? And have you talked to your guys? And I mean, what's going through your mind in the aftermath of this?
Honestly, yeah, it's kind of weird because originally when I talked to you first when you called me, because I was going back and forth, we were doing some work stuff out here. It was just, I really didn't think that it was as bad as it actually was. That's why I asked instantly. I was like, oh, is he going to be fine? Because I kind of assumed, given it was Charlie Kirk and not Trump or some actual political figure in the government, that it'd just be some random person pulled out a gun and just fired a shot and then probably hit somewhere, maybe bad, maybe not, but something that's at least fixable or recoverable from.
Yeah.
And then I wound up obviously seeing the video a little bit later. Then one of my buddies, Jake, he saw the video a little bit earlier and just mentioned it was really bad. In the same way that you were saying, yeah, it doesn't really look good. And just seeing the video and just seeing Charlie Kirk and how he was talking and the way that, first of all, even you said, we've been at the events with him, we've done stuff with his team, with Turning Point, with Charlie Kirk himself, and just being at those events and then seeing that unfold at a different event. First of all, is absolutely crazy. But even more than that, because Charlie Kirk's obviously somebody that we're very familiar with, somebody that, first of all, I looked up to and I've been following more or less since he came really mainstream, probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. I'm not exactly sure the time frame.
Mm-hmm.
But even knowing people, especially in Utah, around that, Utah Valley University, since even our main office is up in Orem, Utah, that we were at a week and a half ago. So
wow.
More or less, even something random, but it's something that's familiar. Even one of the guys I work with, he lives a minute away from the campus. A couple guys I work with too, they were actually at the event in Utah when it happened. So it's crazy, not just even because Charlie Kirk died, but just the way it happened and just how it really puts everything into perspective in a different way than maybe a different situation that's a little further away or you're unfamiliar with compared to just how all that unfolded.
Yeah. So in terms of, as Charlie Kirk himself talked about, this generational movement, this entire generation of conservatives, young men conservatives, I think young males were mostly drawn to Charlie Kirk in a lot of ways. And so the future for you as you talk to your buddies or if you just ponder it and everything else, I mean, my supposition is that this doesn't end. This only is a new beginning, or shall we say another turning point for people like yourself.
That too, like I honestly, and that's something that I noticed, and I mentioned even to Jake and then my other buddy Aiden that's out here with us working, that like when I went on to social media, like even compared to maybe when Trump was shot or just like an overall event, say like 3-4 years ago when something like this happened, it obviously wasn't as frequent, but occasional, where almost every single post, every single story, anything that I saw, like just Instagram specifically, it was just all either like prayers, commemorating him, something good about his life, stuff like that, that I feel like really you wouldn't have seen at all 3 years ago, which is first of all crazy to me and even shows just the impact that he's actually had, even to the point that people who I know that would never ever support anything that he says or support anything conservative, etc., are still posting very, very like nice, genuine like wishes and prayers for him and his family just because of how absolutely horrible the situation was. But even more than that, I think the one thing I listened to this and I heard a clip from Ben Shapiro. The best way, like honestly, I could describe it, like when we were talking about it, is it's just like hard to process more than anything else. Like not just it's hard to like deal with like the death or just hard to deal with the fact that he wouldn't be here anymore. It's just harder to process the fact that somebody like Charlie Kirk, who obviously most like young men look up to, mainly not even because necessarily his political beliefs, but just how probably like he just carries himself. Like he carries himself with respect his family, respect the people he talks to, and he's just an overall like really, really good representation of a man. And to see somebody like that go into that situation, and it's not even like oh yeah, he went to the hospital and fought for a couple hours and died. Like he died pretty much almost instantly in just the middle of nowhere in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
So like just like thinking about it and just being like, hey, like that Charlie Kirk's like dead. It's like just something more than less than anything. It's just hard to process, I feel like, for everybody.
Yeah. And it seems like the more you think about it and you'll have to process it, it seems like ultimately, obviously, if somehow the movement just stops or everybody just gives up, that wouldn't absolutely not be what Charlie Kirk would have in mind. He would absolutely want you guys and all of us to move forward, even with more intellectual muscularity and even with more dedication to our country, our families, and beyond. One thing you mentioned, Aiden, and I noticed this too, I thought was really interesting, especially among these younger posters on Twitter or even Facebook. I honestly, and I went through a bunch of tape of interactions between Charlie Kirk and people who disagree with him, liberal kids, whatever. And man, if I didn't know any better, I would think a lot of these liberal kids came away with a level of respect for him. First of all, somebody on the other side is listening to them, right? I mean, because for the most part, these liberal kids, they're just, it's talk radio or what I do, whatever, and they can't talk back to anybody. And they finally had somebody who said, I'll talk back with you. I'll go back and forth with you. So it seemed like even if people disagree with him, a couple of things didn't happen. He never really engendered hatred from, and you were at these events. You've seen things go on. There were some people who were a little aggressive during the voter drive to Carrie Lake's daughter, but nonetheless, it seems like a lot of these kids actually wound up respecting him to a certain degree, and are kind of like he gets shot, and they're like, "Wow, that we didn't want that to happen."
I think that too, 100%. That's like even it's one guy I personally am not really familiar with him. Like I've seen a handful of interviews, maybe back and forth with different people that he like showed up in. This guy named Dean Withers, that I know is one of like the biggest, like influential, younger, like just on the more left side. And he posted like a really, really heartfelt message about how to handle the situation, the people that are handling it, and saying like just derogatory things towards either him, his family, whatever, is the worst possible thing you could do in that kind of situation. And I think, like, you're right. It's 100% just people like had respect for him just because of the way like he carried his operations and his business, because it wasn't just like okay, we're going to go crazy and just like shut everybody up. Like it was like, okay, I understand you have different opinions than me. I have very strong beliefs. I have very strong opinions. So I want to have a platform where we can sit down and respectfully go back and forth logically on those opinions and see if anything can change in either of our mindsets. Like nothing attacking, nothing coming at anybody, going after any like specific like people in general, especially when he talks to them. It was some of the most respectful discourse, which is why I think too, a lot of people, even if they're not really on the right side or they're not really conservative minded whatsoever, they still have a lot of respect for him and understand the severity and the weight of the situation, purely just based on the way that he went about his life and his business and building his business. But
Yeah.
I will touch on too, like what you said, because I know you asked earlier, like how it would affect the future with what he's doing and like his movement. And I honestly, we talked about this, me, Jake, and Aiden talked about this a little bit yesterday. It's just, I don't really think it's going to achieve anything near to what, first of all, the shooter or whoever was involved with it actually wanted to get out of it. Like, I think more than anything, this will open even more people's eyes to what he was saying. I have a lot of people rewatching some of his content to just kind of see what he's about. Maybe they've never really heard of him, but they see this big trending news story going on of Charlie Kirk. So they go listen to him and they're like, this is just like normal political debating. Like, this isn't negative whatsoever. And there will probably be a lot of people that come just over to support and understand what he was preaching, first of all. But even more than that, there's just going to be a lot of people that are just not going to let it happen again. So I think more than anything, it's going to light a fire under a lot of the young, especially like young conservatives, to push and make sure like this change that he, I guess, created and started himself actually keeps like pursuing throughout the years, or keeps following throughout the years. Because his whole message too, and that's the other thing that I really thought was kind of interesting, is a lot of the people would post a quote that he had, I think from 2023, where he said, if the cost of having Second Amendment rights is a couple deaths, then so be it. And they posted as somewhat of like a negative thing, or like a negative thing to like, oh, this like bit him in the ass. But to be honest with you, in my personal opinion, I think that if Charlie Kirk was able to send a message, even after this all happened, even after he died, even after he was shot, he would probably stand on that rhetoric just the same, if not more, than he would have in 2023.
Absolutely.
Like, just because of the situation, that's what people are trying to like obviously portray, is that since he said that, obviously he just screwed himself over by having guns, so it's just a bad thing. He should never have said that. I don't think Charlie Kirk or even anybody around him would go back on that statement, and I think they would probably reinforce it even more after what happened.
Right on. Talking to my 20-year-old son, Aiden Allman. Super proud of you, buddy, and thank you so much for what you're saying, because it's just absolutely beautiful and well spoken. And I saw the pictures of this guy that they think is the assassin, and he does not look like he's from either world. He doesn't look like he's from the world of the students who show up to debate Charlie Kirk. He certainly doesn't look like any of the students who show up to support Charlie Kirk. He looks like he is, and I know there are a lot of people that considered Charlie Kirk to be a threat. But I will tell you, because of his positivity and because of his following, one thing I will tell you, and I've been talking to people about this, is the generational level of his leadership is very interesting, because first of all, he created a level of political discourse that was unlike the kind of political discourse you guys all grew up with. It was either 9-member panels on TV arguing with each other, or talk radio, or what have you. But rarely was there any kind of political grassroots process where people were actually standing next to each other and everything else and debating and doing whatever. That was really that's really old school and also preternatural, almost like it never happens. And you guys grew up in an environment where, well, first of all, the government almost killed your high school careers with all their COVID stuff. And you guys grew up with a really healthy mistrust of the so-called system. And Charlie Kirk, crazily enough, because he stood for all these wonderful things, still was not identifiable as being part of a system. And I think that's really what drew people like you and others to him.
Oh, yeah. Mainly, I mean, because he wasn't, don't get me wrong, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's impartial, but he was very open to hearing, platforming, just giving a voice to different ideas than his own, which is also, I mean, why I think a lot of people just have respect for him, even if they're not in the same belief system as him, but also just why there were so many people and he got such, like, the following that he actually got. And also because he really was like actually making impact and just really going out there and just grinding. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like, I listened to kind of a couple different guys like Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, like talking about when they first met him when he was like 18 years old and he was just first starting out Turning Point. And the dude was like just going everywhere. He wasn't sleeping much. He was just working, grinding to try to build Turning Point USA. And then even in the past year with the Trump election, the amount of effort, first of all, he put forth, probably spending time away from his family, obviously traveling around the country, doing different pop-ups at different schools, all that stuff, just to get people voted. Not even to sit there and be like, oh, you have to vote for Trump. Like, I'm doing this rally, so everybody who signs up votes for Trump. Which, on the other hand, when we were walking, and I remember when we were walking over to help set up all the stuff for that rally, there were a lot of people that were on, like, obviously the left, having people doing the same kind of thing, signing people up to vote. And it was all people that were signing people up to vote for Kamala, not to vote just in general and put their vote out there.
Yeah.
They were trying to get people to sign up to vote for Kamala. Where on the other hand, Charlie Kirk's whole thing was obviously he is more conservative minded. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He'd nevertheless be influencing people towards the conservative side. But overall, it was just go out and vote. Like, you live in this country, you're about to be up to the age that you can actually vote and have an impact on how the country's ran, how things operate. So you need to take advantage of that and actually make sure your voice is heard. Doesn't matter which side, but make sure your voice is heard, which I think a lot of people respected too, and why a lot of people have followed him, especially even over the past 2 years.
Yeah. And it wasn't always just about politics. There was a level of cultural conservatism. And I mean, taking responsibility for yourself and your family and these kinds of things, personal responsibility. And one thing, I'm going to play a little clip here because it really reminded me of you. And I said, I wonder if Aiden heard this clip, because I consider you, as you have grown up and you're about to turn 21, I've been so impressed and proud of you as such a highly motivated and disciplined person, and a person also who has goals and who wants to succeed and who works super hard. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And I'm so proud of you for that. And then I heard this clip from Charlie Kirk, and I was saying, man, he is totally speaking Aiden's language, and of course the language of Aiden's peers too.
Young men, you need to have a destination in your life. If you are on a date and a young lady says, well, what do you do? And you're like, it's like kind of meander. And I go on DraftKings, and I own crypto, and I don't know. And loser, instead it should be, I'm studying this because of this. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to work for this person. I want to be able to make this much money by this period of time to provide for a family. And I don't care how hard it gets, but I'll provide for you and provide for the kids. And I'll be the protector and the covering over the family. Follow me, because I'm going to lead us.
Yeah. I mean, that listening to that gives me goosebumps, because I'm thinking, man, if you didn't hear it, I'm super proud of you for just even adopting that attitude and mindset. It's no wonder that Charlie Kirk was attractive to you intellectually and politically and culturally.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I honestly had not really heard. I might have heard it at some point, but not to any extent, really. But that is actually, it's really crazy that he even says that. And that's one thing, too, that I really don't very much understand of what the issue is with motivating people to be in that mindset and have that mentality. Obviously I get all the different effects of why some people would have an advantage of making sure people stay more along the first option that he was talking about. But at the end of the day, regardless politically, that had nothing to do with politics at all. That literally just came down to what humans are made for, what men are made for, is to lead, grow a family, provide for the family, and make sure everybody that they obviously is just in their family and is close to them, they're taken care of. And that's the only thing that he was trying to portray, which also is really big. Why I think a lot of people like him too, because to be honest, especially 2-3 years ago when he was really popular, it was hard to find people with that mentality that were preaching that kind of information and telling people those phrases and words in general. Because a lot of people who would go along that path would also go along a couple other paths that would put them in jeopardy, and they wouldn't obviously be shown to a lot of people randomly, it wouldn't be recommended unless you knew them. But Charlie Kirk, the way he approached everything and the way he's formulated Turning Point USA, it was a mainstream network, not necessarily completely mainstream. Everybody's into it, but it's something that you can't really just cancel like you could somebody on social media that's just talking. So he more than likely, he honestly preserved what he was doing, but at the same time, set it up so that people could have an avenue and a way to actually take in that information and hear that information, especially from people who are, first of all, older, wiser, and more successful than they are at that point in time. But even more importantly than that, just the fact that people were able to find something. Because I think especially 2020, 2021, 2022, when COVID was all happening, it was really hard for a lot of people, especially like my age, like just young men in general, to find something to watch that they could relate to and actually motivate them and instill the discipline that they really, really need to be successful like they want to.
Well, Aiden, my well-spoken son, I love you so much, and I so appreciate having you on the show with me, and I'm so proud of you and honored to have you here. And thank you so much for your reflections, buddy. I love you. Have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you a little later on.
Of course. Thanks, dude. It was great being on. Love you too.
All right. I love you too. Yeah. I think the last time he was on the air with me, he was probably like 7 years old. Amazing. I have more of Charlie Kirk's words, what's crazy is he dies and some people are hearing them now for the first time, but it's a pretty interesting concept, eh? It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
The Democrat Party is going to have to go back toward the center.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, the Gemini Wealth Group. Let me tell you something about your retirement. And I say this, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is after you retire, you'll live 20, 30 years longer. The bad news is after you retire, you'll live 20, 30 years longer. Isn't that incredible? Yeah. Well, see, here's the deal, because you got to make sure that everything is shored up for you, that everything is really just drawn out for you in terms of what kind of money are you going to have to spend? What kind of situation are you going to have to spend on your taxes, on your health care, on your living arrangement? What is going to be the diversification process? How are you going to be able to target really good companies to invest in? How are you going to do that? And, that's the thing that the folks at Gemini Wealth Group will walk you through. If you're 55, 50 years old and you're about to retire, I encourage you to make sure you hit them up and make sure you get on board with him. Jeff Portman, you can call him directly at 314-888-0123, 314-888-0123, thegeminiwealthgroup.com, thegeminiwealthgroup.com.
Hey, it's First Alert Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton from Channel 4, and we are proud to be the official weather source for News Talk STL. Just like you've grown to expect from us at Channel 4, you can expect the same accurate, detailed, and timely weather coverage from News Talk STL. The First Alert weather team will keep you ahead of the big weather changes. And the one thing you can count on in St. Louis, the weather is constantly changing. So Channel 4 and News Talk STL are committed to keeping you up to date and safe.
For 93 years, R&R Ace Hardware in St. Clair has been your family-owned destination. We're more than hardware. Find Carhartt clothing, gifts, toys, fishing gear, and fabric all under one roof. 4 generations of small-town service with big store selection. R&R Ace Hardware in St. Clair. Worth the drive.
R&R Ace Hardware in Sullivan isn't your typical hardware store. It's a destination. Find Carhartt clothing, home decor, toys, fishing gear, and fabric all in one place. Proudly woman-owned with unique finds you won't get in the city. R&R Ace Hardware Sullivan. Worth the drive.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited. It's almost fall planting season, everybody. Hanson's Tree Service has the magic bean. I called it that. I remember Jeff Hansen, the late, great Jeff Hansen. I said, man, it's a composting mixture that is great for your plants and your shrubs. It grows things crazily. I mean, Dave MacArthur one time showed me pictures of his sunflowers that he grew with the magic bean, and they were 100 feet tall. It's amazing. So this is a composting mixture. I did call it the magic bean. Jeff was like, I don't know. Should we call it magic? It's like, I'll call it magic. And that's what it's called now. It doesn't label that way, but it is the magic bean. That's what we call it. It's definitely great for all of your trees and your shrubs in your garden, and it is amazing. So check it out for all your tree trimming needs. We're getting into that blustery autumny season. I know it's like still feels like summer, but eventually things are going to turn. You're going to need your trees deadwooded and pruned and taken care of, and Hanson's Tree Service will do that for you, and will also do it for you on a financing plan. Some people are like, well, I don't have the money to take the tree down yet. Well, wait a minute. Are you going to have the money when it falls through your roof, or when it falls on your car, or when it falls on your family? Just make sure you get it done. HansonsTree.com. That's HansonsTree.com.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson out here at Whistle Pig in Troy, Missouri, right here on Main Street, whistlepigoutdoors.com. You got to come out and see this place. I'm here with Jason, and obviously with waterfowl hunting, decoys are a big deal. And your decoys here, these things look so realistic. But what's the importance of having a high quality decoy versus just something you could grab on the internet?
Well, you definitely want to get something that's realistic and it's going to last. So the decoys we carry, SX, GHG, and Avian, are top quality, and they're going to last you a long time as long as you don't shoot them.
Yeah, to take care of the decoys now. And speaking of shooting them, now you guys aren't selling, you don't sell guns here, but you got the ammo, particularly rifle, shotgun. And so what is it people need to maybe stock up on for hunting season?
So we've got all the good top quality shotgun shells, the Apex, Migra, Fiocchi. We've got plenty in stock, and we're one-stop shop for all your shotgun needs.
And of course, in addition to that, bow hunters, this is the place too, because Jay is the expert. You just don't see that in most places, especially the chain places.
Yeah, exactly. Jay is top-notch bow tech, and he can take care of anything, all your needs. We do arrow cutting, bow tuning, whatever you need, we got it.
All right. That's why people come from upwards of 100 miles around to go to Whistle Pig Outdoors to talk to the experts. They live this life, man. I'm telling you, this is where you want to go, and what a great store. Look for the muscle car, the Newstock STL muscle car on Main Street here in Troy. Give them a visit. Once again, whistlepigoutdoors.com.
Columbo and Company.
On Thursday, we'll continue our coverage of the assassination of Charlie Kirk on the campus of Utah Valley University. We'll have reaction from President Trump and all the latest information as it happens.
Live and local, weekdays at 2
on Newstalk STL.
Thank you guys for all your sweet comments about Aiden. I'm really super proud of him. I'm like, wow, dude, he's a good kid. I'm proud of all my kids. Oh, I shouldn't say. Should I say it? No, Natalie would kill me. Okay. She was notified this morning that she's pretty up there at the scholar level. I won't brag. But I remember, so Aiden went with me. I mean, we were thick as thieves when he was a little kid, just like I was with the other kids. And I remember taking him to the Trump rally at the Peabody Center there in 2015. And that was great. And he was all of 11 then. And I remember we went all the way down to the front to the meet and greet. And it was the coolest thing. President Trump signed Aiden's hat. And I'll never forget this. I wish I had it on tape, but, I wasn't. We were just in the moment, And Aiden said to President Trump, then candidate Trump, that I hope you become president. And Donald Trump said right back to him, I hope you do too. And it was just like, wow, that's cool. And I also remember because Denise was there, and I remember standing in line with her. So it was me, Denise, and Aiden. And I was standing there, and then Denise was to my left, and I shook Trump's hand. I said, hey, we're from 97.1. And he stopped me right in mid-tracks. And he looked at Denise and said, and me, and said, who's she? I said, that's Denise Schaefer. So a little fun there. We're going to commemorate this anniversary of the attacks of 9/11, of course, during the next hour, bring you an update on what's happening. We are expecting possibly an update in terms of this assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I've got some really great stuff I want you to hear from Charlie Kirk, too, because what's crazy is a lot of people maybe weren't really familiar a lot with what Charlie Kirk did all the time. And now they are, which is pretty amazing. So he is not gone in vain. That is for sure, as Aiden demonstrated. This is Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Larry Connors here. Is your home ready for the chilly months ahead? Renewal by Andersen has a buy one, get one 50% off window event. And if you qualify, 18 months, no payments, zero interest. Not sure if it's the right time? Renewal makes it easy. No obligation window inspection. Just find out what new windows might cost when you're ready. No pressure, no hassle. And remember, no one but Renewal by Andersen can offer Fibrex, the proprietary window frame material, 200% stronger than vinyl. Means durability, efficiency, beauty that lasts every season. What are you waiting for? Call 877-WINDOWS or visit rbastl.com and get your consultation. Renewal by Andersen. Superior products, exceptional service.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli, and my favorite sandwich from Capriati's is the Wagyu beef French dip. So good. It's the au jus that makes it. And the Wagyu beef is pretty good, too. I love Capriati's, and you will, too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Join Aaron Tarlow every Sunday night at 9 on News Talk STL for Shall Not Be Infringed, your voice for Second Amendment rights and firearms education. Brought to you by DG Firearms, Kevin's Guns, Osage County Guns, and Full Circle Reloading and Firearms.
Attention off-road enthusiasts, Iron Bear Customs has the strongest bumpers on the planet, plus brush guards, lift kits, and custom cages for all vehicles. Visit ironbearcustoms.com and mention News Talk STL for 10% off. Iron Bear Customs, built tough for the toughest terrain.
Discover Patriot Powder Coating, your family-owned specialist in Pacific. From small jobs to big projects, we got you covered. Visit our showroom or call 636-551-0377. Mention News Talk STL for 10% off.
KLDY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm John Scott. At the Pentagon, taps played during today's solemn 9/11 ceremony, a memorial service honoring the 184 service members and civilians killed. President Trump and the First Lady attending. America marked the 24th anniversary of the deadly 9/11 terror attacks with solemn ceremonies also in New York and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. After Charlie Kirk was killed Wednesday at Utah Valley University, President Trump calling for an end to the kind of radical political violence practiced in recent years.
For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now.
The president says he'll posthumously award conservative ally Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The manhunt, meanwhile, continues for the sniper. Inflation moved higher last month as consumer prices rose 2.9% in August from a year earlier.
This morning's numbers come a day following news that U.S. producer prices actually lowered unexpectedly last month, dropping 0.1% from July. In total, year over year, the producer price index rose 2.6%. The Fed weighs the consumer price index against its target rate of 2%. And will be taking all these numbers into account, including the latest job numbers, when it meets next week to determine how to act on its benchmark interest rate. George Williams, Washington.
Wall Street's record-setting run keeps rolling, stocks moving sharply higher. The Dow up 625 points, the NASDAQ composite adding 156. More on these stories at townhall.com.
So my mother is thinking of switching from Verizon to Pure Talk, but she's worried the deal sounds too good to be true. Michael, she said, how can those Pure Talk people offer me the same basic service as Verizon for so much less money? I said, Mom, go ask Google how much Verizon spends on advertising and promotion. A few seconds later, my mother said, oh my goodness, $12 billion a year? That must be a typo. I'll tell you what I told my mom. It's not a typo. Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion, and their customers are paying for it. Well, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. Trust me, I would know. Consequently, they can offer you and my mother unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Dial pound 250 and say the words Mike Rowe, and you'll get an additional 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, everything you need and nothing you don't.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Sunny skies and hot temperatures today. The high about 91 degrees. Now, it's not too humid, but that humidity is creeping up along with the temperatures. And by this weekend, we're going to see temperatures in the mid-90s. What we really need, along with some cooler air, is some rain. And the rain chances through the weekend are very low, maybe a 10% chance of an isolated shower here or there. I'm KMOB First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Hi, Mark Harder here. We all know that the hardest part of staying healthy is dragging yourself to the gym. I felt the same way, but I knew I needed to find a routine I could actually stick to. I recently discovered Alloy Personal Training, and I have been blown away by their approach. At Alloy, each session is different. They never have more than 6 people in a class, which allows me to get the attention I need. Right now, Alloy is giving away free 14-day trials with 2 locations in Baldwin and 1 in Wildwood. Visit alloypersonaltraining.com. Hope to see you in my next session.
Hi, I'm Helene Tobler, culinary nutritionist at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Here we do practical wellness. Dr. Randy and I have a common sense approach to healthcare. My passion is helping our members enjoy better nutrition because food is medicine. We approach problems with a lifestyle foundation and cutting-edge medical tool chest. At Body of Health, it's about being your healthiest you. If you want to experience healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about my friends at Stewart's American Mortgage, Stewart'sAMC.com. We call them Stewie and Jordan. It's a family-run operation. You know what that means? That means that they don't have to nickel and dime you like some of these other big corporate operations with their big buildings and their fancy offices and everything else. They are in Overland, and they have some fairly humble settings there. But, man, they are not humble when it comes to the bravery of making sure you get zero closing costs on your refis, on your debt consolidations, and on your home buying. So that's the important thing. Google the bagel loan. Now, Stewie calls it the bagel loan because he's from Brooklyn. And so they said, what can we do to convey to people that it's about the zeros? It's zero lending costs, zero costs for credit pulls, zero costs for titling fees, all that kind of stuff. All you do is bring your 20% when you're buying a home, and that's it. So how do we convey that? Well, let's have something that looks like a zero. Call it the bagel loan, and just tell people to Google the bagel loan. And that's what I am telling you to do. Go ahead, Google the bagel loan. You got the number there. When you call, please tell them Jamie Allman sent you, and also thank them for supporting free common sense conservative radio.
Live and local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
It's the time of the season when love runs high. In this time, give it to me easy.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to
Let me try
the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
to take you in this time to
President Trump is right now at a commemoration, a memorial at the Pentagon on the anniversary of the attacks of 9/11. So we'll keep you updated on that. Man, it doesn't seem that long ago, even though it was. But I've been to the memorial up there in New York City. It's absolutely beautiful. Visited that with my daughter. And what's cool is that they have the you guys can maybe help me out with the name of this tree, because there's this tree that was around the World Trade Center, and there's a bunch of trees, and a lot of them were burned up and everything else, but this one survived, and they moved it and took it to like a tree nursery or something to kind of rehab the tree, and then they replanted the tree at the memorial, and it's really amazing to stand there, this tree that survived the attacks of 9/11 right there at the World Trade Center. It's really incredible and impressive, but it was a tree that's just sitting there, so maybe you guys can help me out with it. If you do go, then you got to see that because it's really, really cool. All right, so I can't understand this, and I'll get to this in more in depth a little bit. But you notice that some of the reactions, and I'll play them for you because a few people are kind of dropping like flies as a result of their run-in with their own ghoulishness over the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And so we've got a couple casualties already, and we'll probably have more. But the other thing is I can't understand, and this is a reaction. And again, as you all know, I told Aiden this when I was on with him, when he was on with me. This guy, they're showing the picture of him. I'm sure it won't be long until they find him. I hope that they keep him alive, they find him alive. But this guy does not look like he is from any element of not only the left side that would be participating in this event, and nor from the right side. And by the way, I think there are some Republicans who considered Charlie Kirk a threat, which is why I'm not convinced that this was a liberal or a person on the left or even a Democrat. I'm going to wait and see, and we'll figure it out because no one knows right now. But I'm just telling you my instincts when I see his picture, and he looks like a sniper, by the way. He's built like one. He's got these long arms. He's wiry, skinny, and he looks like a sniper. He's wearing a shirt that has an American flag on it, and the flag has what looks like a bald eagle flying over it with its wings spread. Sunglasses, hat that has an emblem on it that I cannot see what that is. But nonetheless, this guy does not look like he is from any kind of place that we might be familiar with. But I don't know. And we will see. The other thing I'm seeing a lot of is I don't know why everybody has to go. Your first reaction when Charlie Kirk is dead is to go interview a congressman on TV. Like CBS was interviewing Kevin McCarthy and some other guy. I'm like, why are you talking to Kevin McCarthy? And what happens is they get these guys, and you know what their response is? We have to turn the heat down in this country. We've got to turn the rhetoric down in this country. And I say, no, we don't. Rhetoric isn't causing the violence. Violent people are causing the violence. And I don't think we need to turn the heat down at all. We need to turn the heat up. But all these people, oh, what's wrong with this world? We're not responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk. And neither are most of those liberals who showed up to debate him in Utah. There are bigger forces that are responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Let us keep going. Let us keep talking. Let us keep the debates going, everything else. But that is exactly what the Uniparty wants you to do. They want you and me to shut up. They want you and me to stop talking and let them take over. Let's just listen to Kevin McCarthy all day long. I mean, I don't even want to hear Byron Donalds. I don't care. I'm just saying, that's the way they want this. And I guarantee you a lot of them, and this doesn't make me happy to say it, but I know there are a lot of people who are glad Charlie Kirk is dead. And these are individuals who are not only left-winger people, Democrats or liberals, whatever. They are people in our circles too. Not in the Make America Great Again circles, but you have to understand there are a lot of people who were threatened by Charlie Kirk and his movement and his power and his persuasiveness over young Americans who would be turnout voting conservatively for decades. Those are the same people, by the way, who are going to be putting pressure on future candidates to be conservative themselves. And believe me, there are a ton of Republicans who absolutely don't want that kind of pressure. There are a ton of Republicans who are really super glad in their mind that Trump only has one more term, because then they could go back to their usual shenanigans and bull crappery. I know it's not J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, but you know what I'm saying. They're just kind of waiting to see. And they want this MAGA thing to wear down, to wind down. And Charlie Kirk was an emblem of the Make America Great Again movement, not winding down at all, and in fact, becoming the foundation for the future. And to me, that is why, in my opinion, there are not only liberals and leftists and others who might have been rejoicing that Charlie Kirk is dead. There are others, but let me tell you something. Even as Aiden indicated in our phone conversation, if their intention or somebody's intention was to kill off a movement, they've just started a whole new movement that has been regenerated in ways that is absolutely just amazing. Let me tell you something that's interesting about all this, because I do believe there are a lot of people, and I'm actually one of them too. I mean, I did follow Charlie Kirk. I did see his videos. In fact, this week, they were showing up in my Facebook reel because I did watch them, but I haven't always been exposed to everything he has said. And if you can imagine the beautiful nature of what really ultimately is a terrible act and a terrible tragedy and a terrible loss. And I'm going to make a analogy, a comparison. And I think this has happened with a lot of other people too. You do remember when the Lord Jesus Christ was crucified and was murdered, he gave birth to Christianity. And in fact, it was not a done deal that there would be without the death of Jesus Christ. And to a certain degree, there are so much symmetry between this life and death of Charlie Kirk with the life and death of Jesus Christ himself. And I'm not calling him Jesus Christ or whatever. You know what I'm talking about, people, though, you know? Some people get all offended when you're making comparisons like that. And unfortunately, I do not have the burden of caring whether you're offended or not at that. I'm making the statement. So here's the situation. So Jesus made it a point to because, the Pharisees and the Sadducees didn't want him to. Jesus, why are you talking to those dirty people? They don't do nearly what we do in terms of keeping everything right and following all the rules. And Jesus is like, I don't care. This is a new deal. This is the New Testament, my friends. And I am talking to everybody, even those who may not have anything to offer me or maybe even aren't comporting themselves in that way, whatever. Well, who else do you know in politics and beyond, other than Charlie Kirk, who purposely wandered into zones where people disagreed with him in hopes of evangelizing and changing their minds, not just for sport, because he was very gracious with all of these people, So that's totally Christ-like. And then also to have many groups of people who even are on opposite ends, and boy, the comparisons again to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the Republicans and the Democrats who watched Charlie Kirk in action, watched him, people absolutely taking in everything he was saying. And I guarantee you, I know it, the Uniparty didn't like this guy. First of all, he was responsible in part to getting President Trump reelected, but he was responsible for an entirely new movement that they could not control. And you know how politicians are. That's why they're telling you to tone down the rhetoric, to turn down the temperature. Yeah, that's just what they want. They want you to go back to being quiet and shut up and whatever. And that's not going to happen. There's going to be somebody else possibly who's going to fill that void. I'm sure there will be. But even as Aiden pointed out, so Charlie Kirk has died. The movement will not. That's not going to happen. And in fact, it's probably increased even more. But man, when you listen to what he has said, and again, the Uniparty didn't like him. President Trump did, and other people did, because President Trump is just as grassroots and organic as a guy like Charlie Kirk. But if you can imagine how unusual it was, and it shouldn't be that, how unusual it was to have a guy, a conservative guy, go out there and hang out with people who didn't agree with him and sit there and take questions and tell the people who disagree with him to go to the front of the line. The first shall be the last shall be the first. Go in front of the line. I mean, and isn't it crazy in a country like ours that Charlie Kirk was as unique as he was? It should be the opposite direction. We should have 500 of these types of individuals running around there. They should have a liberal who does this. But we are so steeped in this whole party nonsense and everything else that we forget about this. Charlie Kirk never did, and that truly is the blessing that he has given us and is giving us even in his death. So I'm going to play you some stuff I gathered because you're going to love it. And that has the Charlie Kirk highlights, so to speak. And we'll also possibly be giving you an update. Jeff Allen had popped in the studio to let me know there's a possibility, maybe about 1:45, there might be a news conference, whatever. I'm telling you, I don't think it's going to be long before they catch this guy. Now there's pictures out there, but we will keep you updated, and of course throughout the day as Colombo and Company and Tim Jones and Christopher Arps as well, and Larry too. So don't go away from News Talk STL. This is Common Sense Radio.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Yes, my friends, Grasser Electric, love these guys. In fact, I've got Sean coming out to the house, I think, later on this week once he gets back from vacation, and he is going to be helping me with all kinds of small things. We found another outlet yesterday that's just all shaky and that doesn't hold a cord, and that's so annoying anyway. So we're going to get all that fixed, and we're going to get all that changed up, and Sean's going to help me with Grasser Electric, grasserelectric.com. I've also got some lights in Lily's bathroom that aren't working, and I've got other little things. So I have kind of a list of things that Sean's going to do. And if you have a list of things, let Grasser take care of it. That way you have more time on your weekend to write your autobiography or do whatever you have to do. Learn the piano, for crying out loud, whatever. And let Grasser take over. They are super pros. They do commercial work as well. So if you have a business and you need some help there, you need something rewired, you are building an addition and you need something wired for electricity for your addition, I would encourage you to definitely use Grasser Electric. Shane has been a long-time supporter of free common sense conservative radio ever since I coined the term. Shane has been with me. That's going on 20 years now. And Shane's a good friend, and he's got his whole family involved and also great electricians as well. GrasserElectric.com. That's GrasserElectric.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Looking for insurance you can truly trust? Since 1986, Bauer Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses across Missouri and Illinois. Owner Cindy Blanton doesn't just offer one quote. She shops all the top carriers like Progressive, Travelers, Safeco, and more to find you the best rates. Whether it's your home, auto, toys, or business, we've got you covered. Visit us at Mid Rivers Mall in St. Peters or call 636-812-2001. Bauer Insurance Agency, the company that protects, the name you can trust.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Just a convenience on the phone. Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app. And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere.
Now we are going to play a good cha-cha-cha recording.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. We are just seeing that the Kirk news conference, as they call it, has been postponed due to rapid developments. And hopefully that means they have an arrest of a live person or persons. As I said earlier, I find it hard to believe this guy would have been able to pull this off alone. I believe there had to be somebody on the ground. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. I always want to make sure you all know that. And just in looking at the picture of this guy, and again, I might be wrong, way off, but that guy looks like a trained sniper. He just does. An American flag on his shirt, and it looks like an eagle flying over the flag. It's right in the center of his shirt there. Super like loose-fitting shirt. He's really super wiry. Sunglasses and a hat. A couple of you commenting on this whole idea, and I think you're right. I mean, Kathleen mentions, and I think you're really right on about this. Charlie Kirk most likely would have run for president someday. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Didn't think about that element of it. That's another reason why some people would not want him around, and they would not only be liberals and Democrats, they would be other people as well. So we'll see. And Phil is saying, I can imagine the chilling effect this will have on future political gatherings. Yeah, on college campuses. Yeah, that's a real dangerous thing. I mean, it really kind of casts a pall over the whole operation, so to speak, over the whole concept. And, again, it's amazing how many of these Charlie Kirk has done. And no one in the audience ever threw anything at him. No one in the audience talking to him ever obviously shot him. Nobody ever accosted him. Nobody ever took a knife out. None of this stuff. So that's another reason why I believe that the person responsible for his death, Charlie Kirk's death, really, it wasn't about a disagreement. It doesn't seem like it was. It was about stopping him. That's just my opinion about it. Because again, how many times and he never had hardly any security with him. He always had some people, but so it turned out he had to be killed from 200 yards away by an anonymous person so far. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, I went through some of his tapes. It's really great. As he was on campus, he's really good at this. And frankly, I have a ton of respect for the people who came up and disagreed with him too. It was fun stuff.
Sweet. I'm just curious about your stance on college as a scam, because I feel like, according to the Hamilton Institute, people who get bachelor degrees over a total lifetime earnings will earn over $1 million more than those who don't. And also, I feel like college is an important place for people to go learn valuable life lessons. And also, it's good to have a balanced society, because then you're going to get artists. You're also going to get architectures. You're going to get engineers. You're going to get all sorts of different people that we need in society. Because what's the point in living if we don't have writers or artists, So I just want to get your take on that.
Sure. Question is, do the best writers learn to write in college? Probably not. No, the best writers are gifted writing, and they learn to write by writing. And I would just argue that this kind of holistic view you get, for example, what are you studying? Can I ask?
Economics.
Okay. So what do you think of Thomas Sowell?
I actually really like him. I bought his book, Basic Economics. Great. He's one of the first economists.
Do they teach it here?
Not yet, but also.
Okay, so now you're proving my point. If you're studying economics and they're not teaching Thomas Sowell, you're not getting an education, you're getting an indoctrination.
Well,
and you're being scammed.
Okay.
Milton Friedman. Do they teach Milton Friedman here?
No, but I'm aware of him.
Okay. Ludwig von Mises.
I'm aware of him, but no.
Murray Rothbard. Hold on.
No.
F.A. Hayek.
No.
Frederick Bastiat.
No.
You're not getting economics education. You're getting an indoctrination.
Yeah. Just listening to him go through all this is really incredible. Here's another one.
Don't you believe that white privilege exists? I just want to get your understanding first, and then we could go from there.
Well, let's just, is there anything that you can't do that I can do?
No, we could do the same things if we put our minds to it.
Good. Then there's no white privilege.
That's like, oh, okay. Got you there. Here's another one.
Is why we're $35 trillion in debt. Secondly, which is very important, if you annualize Doja's savings, do you know how much they're on pace to save this year? $1 trillion. $1 trillion, which would then get us on path for a balanced budget. They're on pace because you say, oh, it's only $1 billion here. They've been in for 6 weeks. They've already saved $100 billion. But by December, they'll be at $1 trillion. Our deficit is $1.6 trillion. We're going to lower our deficit in such an increasingly important way. And you're going to learn that you actually don't need these government agencies to run a country, that these people are unnecessary. It's bloated. These bureaucrats don't do anything all day long. And we need to right size it because we're a nation in debt. We know we're $35 trillion in debt.
Yes.
In debt.
Yes.
And the only way we're going to get out of it is if we're honest, be like, how about no more empty buildings? Biodiversity in Nepal, $19 million.
Yeah. So, what's interesting about this is you listen to him, you pay attention to the crowds of people, the crowds of young people, some of them obviously his supporters and some of them not, but they're all listening. I mean, where on a college campus do you get discussions about budget deficits ever? You certainly don't get them in the classroom. As he pointed out, too, with this guy who was talking about studying economics, where they're not even teaching Thomas Sowell or Milton Friedman or any of those other names that I have no idea who he's talking about. They don't teach that there, but he's studying economics. And so the best thing the student can say is, well, I've heard of him. Well, okay, so where else are these kids going to hear this kind of stuff? It was really amazing to see the attention. And I have to tell you, I am really proud. I have a sense of love for these kids, even the left-wing ones who came out to this event, who decided they were going to take the time to come out and listen to Charlie Kirk, even though they were on the left or liberal or whatever you want to call it. But they came out to listen to him and maybe get educated or maybe just get more angry, whatever. But they still came out. It's pretty amazing to have that happen. And at the same time, you're in a situation where, like yesterday, imagine the commitment that these people made on the left and the right to come out. This was a big crowd, by the way. Normally you'd think that I guess I always thought that some of these things, they had like 10 people standing around a tent or whatever. This was a gigantic event. And by gigantic, I mean it was large compared to what you'd think that something like that would be. There must have been like 500, 600, 700 people there, all in this little amphitheater type of thing. And the fact of the matter is, this assassin took that away from both sides, which is why I believe that this person is from outside of both realms. And I just can't figure out what it is. But this person, if you can imagine what a terrible human being this person is, what a traitor he is to this country, it wasn't only kill Charlie Kirk, but yank basic, common American discourse and the possibility of that from them. He took that American experience away from them. Who wants to do that? Who wants to do that? Who wants to try to threaten, intimidate, and retrain generations of young Americans? Who wants to do that? Well, I mean, you obviously Antifa, these kinds of organizations, people tied to the Communist Chinese Party, those kinds of things. People who hate Trump or whatever, or people who want power, but don't want to have to work for it to get the attention of young people. So all kinds of things are an offshoot and went into this murder of Charlie Kirk. There's a lot going on. This is a pretty well planned operation, and I just am waiting to find out what actually was behind it. I think that we will be surprised, but I think we will also not be surprised. Here's another one.
In your own propaganda in the Constitution.
You mean writing a paragraph is propaganda?
No, I also believe that having the explanations here because you don't believe the reader is smart enough to understand the language is kind of propaganda.
Well, no, see,
this is about this pocket Constitution. This is, Constitution for kids. He's handing out.
Audience is for?
For people who can't read it.
Yeah, that's a Constitution for third graders.
Yeah. Why are you handing it out to college students?
Well, because the constitutional literacy of college students is the constitutional literacy of third graders.
I think that's false equivalency.
Well, hold on. Let's test your knowledge. Don't open it up.
Right.
What is the 10th Amendment? Okay, let's get easier. What's the 4th Amendment?
Isn't that the No Quartering Act?
No, that's the 3rd Amendment.
Third.
Okay. The Constitution, when was it ratified?
1787.
Yeah, when was the Bill of Rights ratified?
1789.
1791. How many articles are there in the U.S. Constitution?
There's 8 articles.
7.
7.
What is Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution?
I just want to ask.
No, but I'm just saying, you came here guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
You do not know more than a third grader about the U.S. Constitution, which is exactly what these are the most elementary.
Do you think?
And so let me ask you something. In that exchange, and it really is pretty interesting. While he was a little hard on the guy, right? But the reality is that what do you think happened? Oh yeah, we need to have Brenda Talent on here. Well, we'll get her at 1:40, dear. How's that sound, Ashlyn? Okay, you can call her back and let her know that. So excuse me. And just a little. We've been so busy, some things just kind of went by my radar. But what do you think is going to happen with that kid after this exchange with Charlie Kirk? Well, if I'm that kid, and I think most normal human beings, I'm going back and I'm boning up on the Constitution because I just realized that I didn't know a lot about the Constitution. And let me tell you something else. If you're honest with yourself, and any of these other kids maybe who supported Charlie Kirk are honest with themselves, I bet you they also couldn't answer some of those questions. I know I couldn't. So in many ways, even though sometimes people will say, well, Charlie Kirk humiliated this guy, Charlie Kirk this, but I guarantee you, if millions of Americans just find this clip on the internet, Charlie Kirk would have taught half of them more about the Constitution than they ever actually knew. And that's pretty amazing. So even if you look at the discussion of Doge and your budget deficits and everything else, to have those discussions on campus is really a miracle. And so, it's interesting. There are a lot of people who think that Charlie Kirk just went out there and spewed stuff about transgendered people. It was so much more than that. And the fact is, some people even now who are mourning him think that, oh yeah, he just went out there and that's not true. There was so much content to his conversations. It is miraculous that a human being like Charlie Kirk even existed and was able to pull this off. At the same time, it's surprising there aren't 500 of him, but the fact of the matter is there was only one of them. From both sides of the aisle, can you imagine in the United States of America that there was only one Charlie Kirk? That just goes to show you how unique and courageous, brave, and smart Charlie Kirk actually was. And I almost kind of realized after looking at all these videos, I still have more to play, but I'm not going to have time, but I realized looking at all these videos, how much I didn't know about Charlie Kirk. You have all these people pretending that, they know everything. They don't really know, but, and so it's fascinating. The one I played with where I wanted my son to react to it, Aiden, is I really love this so much because aside from being more of a tactician as it relates to the Constitution and the budget deficit and spending and all these kind of political issues, the cultural might of Charlie Kirk was nothing short of incredible. And if you can imagine, it should make you feel great that what I'm about to play you here was listened to by millions of young American men. It's almost as if, as a father, you could tell this to your kid, right? But it might not have even the kind of impact coming from a 31-year-old guy who's only about 10 years older than you are or whatever. And that was really the connection. But listen to this.
If you are on a date and a young lady says, well, what do you do? And they're like, it's I kind of meander. And I go on DraftKings and I own crypto and I don't know. And loser, instead it should be, I'm studying this because of this. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to work for this person. I want to be able to make this much money by this period of time to provide for a family. And I don't care how hard it gets, but I'll provide for you and provide for the kids. And I'll be the protector and the covering over the family. Follow me because I'm going to lead us. That's what they want to hear. They want the confidence and the security that when life gets difficult and when life starts falling apart, that man will lead them towards security and stability. Because deep down, women have a very well-built and finely tuned, God-given instinct that they'll be able to tell in a man when the bullets start firing, is this guy going to protect me and protect my kids? And is he going to provide, or is he going to run for the hills? Go look to your grandfather's generation that stormed Normandy Beach, that built this nation, that started big businesses, that went on adventure. If the most important thing for you is just feeling good, you're going to end up miserable. But if the most important thing is doing good, you will end up purposeful.
I mean, that's incredible. And if you can imagine millions of young men listening to that and how inspiring that truly is. And also in going over these tapes and even seeing these exchanges with the kids, did you notice one thing that didn't happen in any of these exchanges? You didn't have to bleep anything out. There wasn't one person, I'm sure there have been, but in these videos and these things, cussing. You have people who are some of the most famous people in the world and all these idiots in Hollywood, whatever, who can't get through a Twitter video or Instagram video without dropping the F-bomb or doing whatever. There wasn't one cuss word in all of this. And even though I'm no prude, I use a few cuss words myself. But if you can imagine this kind of stuff going on where you don't have to, and I worry about it because I'm doing the radio thing. And so sometimes I got to wonder, are they going to cuss here? Get cuss here? Because I do try to see everything or listen to everything beforehand. But you notice it's kind of like having how much you love clean comics, right? Yeah. So Charlie Kirk was an extraordinary individual. I'm not sure that we will see another one like him again. Or guess what? Maybe we will. Maybe we will as a result of Charlie Kirk's influence. There may not be one person like him again. There could be millions. This is Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion.
Historic meeting between European leaders, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and President Trump.
We want to stop the killing, get this settled.
101.9 and 94.1.
We all want peace.
News Talk STL.
All right, people, let me tell you something about the Hideout. And let me tell you something about Rick Pogue. We talked about this yesterday. Last night was biker night there at the Hideout. And tonight you can go there and have a nice dinner. They just introduced the dinner. So, I mean, you can go there and have a hamburger or whatever, but these are kind of like the nicer dinners, like a steak dinner. They have also the chicken dinner, fish dinner, whatever. And what they finally discovered, and Jake did this, he was like, yeah, notice people come here and they might grab an appetizer and drinks on their way to dinner. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how come we just don't have a nice dinner here? And that way people don't have to stop in, they can stay. And that's exactly what they do at the Hideout. It's 10 minutes south of 270 in Gravois there in beautiful High Ridge. Their wings are perfect. Their pizza is divine. And their appetizers are great. Their employees are super happy and super dedicated to great service and a great time. There's music all weekend long. And lunch is served 7 days a week. Lunch and dinner served 7 days a week at the Hideout, 10 minutes south of 270 in Gravois in High Ridge.
Tim Jones here from my great friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. How do I know? Simply put, they've helped me on many occasions. Here's another solution to your everyday aches and pains. The Studio Health and Wellness Center. Services include Pilates and yoga, both with certified instructors. I can also highly recommend the massage therapy, which is not an indulgence. It's a proven method of healing and restoration. Trust my friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best in each of us, made better by the best in all of us. Whatever success looks like to you, Stifel is invested in yours. That's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. So whether you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
As you know, Vincent's is not just my favorite jeweler. Vincent's is my only jeweler. And I was in recently looking at lab-grown diamonds. These are not glass. They are actual diamonds, but they cost a fraction of a natural diamond. You can check them out at Vincents.com, or better yet, see these lab-grown diamonds in person. You're going to be amazed at the beauty and the price. Vincent's Jewelers, VincentsJewelers.com.
Let me tell you something about Window World, people. Well, first of all, it's the best for less, and it is the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues, just in time for the Blues season to start heating up a little bit. And let me tell you something about the Window World windows. One of 2 windows in the country with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval, and recognized by Qualified Remodeler magazine as the number 1 window seller in the country. And that is pretty amazing. Also, they love their own windows too, because they have a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. So you can be guaranteed that that window you buy is going to be replaced or whatever if anything ever happens to it. Also, just as a convincer, when somebody comes out and gives you the free estimate on the window, then go ahead and say, hey, Allman says that the window isn't going to break even if you stand on it. So can you stand on it for me? And boom, they go ahead and do that. And they'll show you how strong this window is. Thermally superior to all the rest. Financing plans for you if you're doing a whole house or even just a couple windows, whatever, you can have them finance Window World. Just give them a call, 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800. Window World, simply the best for less.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
Dr. Fauci sent out emails saying, read, then destroy. What was going on?
Larry Connors USA.
Now, weeknights 6 until 8
on News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. As we said earlier, the news conference that was scheduled for at some point, maybe 1:45, has been postponed due to what they called, quote, rapid developments, which hopefully that means an arrest or whatever else, and we will see how the whole thing fleshes out, and we'll find out what happens. I'm sure Tony, if it pops up somewhere along the line, Tony Colombo and Company will have it all for you, as will Tim and Chris for the Tim Jones and Christopher Arp Show. Want to make sure because Charlie Kirk would want us to do this, right? Pay attention to what's happening in your neighborhood and in your sphere, and always stay on top of what some of these people are up to. And Brenda Talent and the Show Me Institute, they're really super good at doing just that. Brenda Talent, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Jamie. I know that we're all rather preoccupied with the events of yesterday and how tragic they are, but our lawmakers are meeting in Jefferson City, and they are taking actions which will impact all of us in our lives.
Yeah. So where are we at now? I know that there was some discussion about, obviously with the House, it's a done deal. But the Senate is still kind of is the Senate going to be wishy-washy on this stuff? How's that going to flesh out?
Well, they say that they've got the required number of senators willing to vote for the previous question, which is what you have to do in order to bring items to the floor for a vote. So I think that we'll see, unless there's some kind of personality disruption, that in fact they will come together and we'll see them voting on this legislation.
Yeah, and I guess in terms of, are you pleased with how it all turned out? Like, for instance, with the initiative petition thing, was there anything that was watered down, or is this a pretty strong bill, of a pretty strong law at this point? When it will be?
I've not read the entire bill. My understanding of what it does is it really addresses the issue of amendments to our Constitution. And I think we would all agree, anyone who's watched this process over the years, that we have amended our Constitution like 125 times, and we've amended it with things that really belong in the statute. They don't belong in a Constitution because they're just not of that weighty of a nature, which you expect a Constitution to address principles, not go into procedure. And we've had things now which go into minutia on procedure, and it's in our Constitution. So what it would require is for a constitutional amendment within each congressional district, the initiative must receive at least 50+% of the vote, so more than 50%. And then overall statewide, it must receive over 50%. And, as you look at the various proposals, we do have one of the really sort of the easiest methods of having these initiative petitions. And it's good to have a voice, but the point is we do have a representative government, and that's how we, in large part, should be holding people accountable. If our elected representatives are not doing what we need them to do, we should be kicking them out of office. We should have, in my opinion, a safety net where if they really have gone rogue, we as citizens can take action to voice our concerns and what we care about. You know, again, Jamie, over the years, what we've seen is ballot candy. You know, you'll see something on the ballot and you go, oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But most of us don't have the time to dig into the minutia of what's being proposed. And then we find out subsequently, buried within that thing that we liked are a lot of other stuff that we don't like. And there's nothing we can do about it, because once we voted for it and we didn't go through it like a lawyer would go through it to understand what it means, you know, it's in our Constitution. So I think this proposal is a way to begin that process of reforming our initiative petition process. Yeah, and as you know, in recent years, we've also seen moneyed interest from outside our state come in and push their proposals, which really don't align with the values of Missourians.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I talked to Tim Jones earlier in the week, and it was really kind of shocking to learn even the Speaker of the House, Patterson, voted against that reform. And I still can't figure out what would motivate a Republican to vote against some of these things.
Well, as you know, we don't get involved in politics,
Yeah.
but I always say, you know, think about self-interest.
Right, exactly. I mean, I don't know what position the Show Me Institute takes on term limits, but I happen to think that locally, term limits somehow didn't really work out too well. I mean, and I think there were people who warned about that too, where you get to a situation where you have this revolving door, and the only people who really know anything or know their way around the block are the bureaucrats and lobbyists. So sometimes that's
unfortunately, I think that's how we've seen term limits play out, and
yeah,
it's one of those unintended consequences.
Yeah. I mean, because generally it seems like it would be on its face a good idea. It seems to be working at the DC level, but thank you so much for your help and also your due diligence. I know you got people boots on the ground down there monitoring the situation in Jefferson City. And thank you so much for the update. And you all can check out all kinds of updates at showmeinstitute.org. So, Brenda, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Say hi to Jim, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me, Jamie. Take
all right.
care.
That
Bye-bye.
is Brenda Talent with the Show Me Institute. So we are at some point going to get this update on what is going on. Of course, you guys by now have seen the video, and you have also by not the video but the pictures. There is some, and Donna pointed out there was some drone video of the roof and everything else, and then there was one video on the internet that I thought was very interesting. It was before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and it was somebody who noticed somebody up on the roof, crawling around up on the roof. I don't know. That person did put that video out on the internet, and I would be very curious to see what else that person might have had in terms of the footage and everything else. And again, it's my opinion. Of course, none of this could turn out, or all of it can turn out. I just don't believe that this guy would have been able to pull this off alone without some help on the ground. That's just what I think is going on. So, as I told you before, I see this guy's picture. I see him there. He doesn't look like he's just some left-wing Antifa dude, and he certainly doesn't look like he's, a conservative, whatever, but he is wearing an American flag shirt with the eagle on it and everything else. There's something definitely more to this that we're going to find out. And the sad thing is that Charlie Kirk was so amazing and so influential that he wound up being a threat to a lot of people. And they were all bad people and are all bad people, and they're not all liberals and Democrats. That's all I'm saying. So we'll see how it all plays out. But listen to News Talk STL the rest of the day, and you will absolutely be fully informed. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Ashton, thanks so much, you guys, to the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.